Pterodactyl here. Today's video is going to be on this here Lumbermate 2000. That's got a brakes and scrap 'em V-twin Vanguard on there. You got a brakes and scrap 'em? You might want to get this sticker. Yeah, brakes and scrap 'em. Put it on yours. Get it in our online store. There's your dinner. All right, so this Sawmill came in, and this is just one of the many problems it has. So you try to start it, and the solenoid's bad on the starter. Here's the solenoid. You can hear it clicking, but it's just not making good contact. And if you know anything about solenoids, all this is a giant switch, a big heavy-duty switch. So how this works is when I turn the key, it sends 12 volts to the solenoid, and there's a big like magnet in there, which is supposed to come up and make connection across here. Because this is coming from the battery and this is going to the starter. So that clicking you hear is the solenoid. It's trying to engage that magnet, but the contacts are probably all wore out and it's not engaging. So if I jump across here with this here screwdriver, it'll crank over. Whoa. So the first thing I need to do is replace that solenoid. Now, the only solenoids I got are these universal ones. And if you notice, this solenoid is strapped right to the starter. So I got this universal one here. It's a 3-post or 3 connection or 3 contacts. We got our 2 connections here and the one here. And then this grounds to the starter. Because if we don't ground this, if we just let it hang, it wouldn't work. It's got to be grounded. So all I'm going to do is, because I think this hose clamp they use to hold it to the starter, I think that'll fit through this slot right here. So I'm going to take my whizzer wheel and I'm just going to cut this mount off. I could probably leave it on there, but I'm just going to cut it off anyway. And then there's a screw down here underneath to loosen it. So the first thing I'm going to do is disconnect the battery, because this is going right to the battery and we don't want that to spark in case there's any gas fumes. So I'll disconnect the battery, I'll disconnect these connections and put the new solenoid on. Okay, I got the old solenoid off, so I'm going to blow some of this sawdust off of here. So if you notice, they've got this little tab on here, this little piece of metal that's bolted right to the back of the starter, and that's to help ground it to the starter. So I cut that bracket off, and I'm starting to get this hose clamp. And hopefully it'll go on there. I can make this one work. Try to bend that a little more so it'll get around the starter. There we go. I'm going to feed this through a little more. There we go. All right, let me kind of center it up on here. I want to get the bottom of the solenoid right over that strap that's coming off the starter. And make sure it's on there tight, but you don't want to break it either. So you got this yellow wire here. This is your charge wire. It's got these those little sleeves that take up some slop in the cable in case you got a big cable. So I'm going to put this on first, and then the cable that's coming right from the battery goes on there. So now I need this little sleeve kind of helps take up some of that slop in there a little bit. Not much, but I'll put it on anyway. So you want the charge wire to be on the same one as the battery, because this is the one going to the starter. Oh, and I just noticed something here. And I know I didn't do it when I just took this off. But this end plate, this end cap for the starter is busted. So now I got to pull the starter off. Or at least the back of the starter. I might be able to do it without taking the whole starter off. And then here's our wire for our trigger wire that's coming from the switch. I'm going to hook it up anyway just to see. Something must have got in there and broke the end of the starter. See, now that little sleeve doesn't work for this one. So we'll always leave that off. So if you get one of these universal starters and that comes with it, you don't have to use it. And those are 1/2-inch nuts, so I got to get a wrench to tighten them down. All right, I got a new solenoid hooked up. And she's cranking over now. All right, so let me show you what broke. Slide this out of the way. So right here, this is the end cap for the starter. So I should be able to pull this off without having to take the whole starter off. Because if you know anything about these Vanguards, the starter's kind of, the 2 bolts that hold it on back there, it's kind of hard to get at. So I should be able to replace this cap. I might have a new one. If not, I'm definitely got to use one. But I mean, it's working, but we can't leave it that way. Some piece of wood or something probably got in there because this is open right here. So something got in there and hit that and broke that. That's the end cap where our brushes are on the starter. So I need to change that. Here's the belt. Seems like it's kind of loose. And look at that blade. Because this is a centrifugal clutch which turns this. Look at that blade, rides right on top of that belt. Isn't that something? It seems kind of loose. So I'm sure there's an adjustment on here to put more tension on this belt. I hope. All right, let's see if it'll start though. And this latch is broke. All right. So here's the choke. And here's the key. Fired right up. So another thing he wants done, he wants it all serviced. So by service, he means he wants it like tuned up. So we need to put a new air filter in it, a new fuel filter, change the plugs. And another complaint was this throttle cable. He doesn't think that it's getting enough throttle action. He had to bend on this. So I'm going to have to do something with this. Here's the throttle. I'm going to have to do something with this throttle. So I think I'll take it off for one. It might just need to be taken apart and oiled real well. Alright, here's the clamp that's holding the throttle. And it went in this hole right here. Let me take a look at the air cleaner. So this is loose. Oh, there's a lot of sawdust in there. Get a look at this. Oh yeah. I mean, it's not terrible, but I'll put a new one in. Blow this out real good. I'll throw that away. Like I said, I'll put a new fuel filter on it. Set of plugs, we'll change the oil. I noticed it was kind of cranking a little hard maybe. It cranks all right. Whoa. I'm not trying to start it. I just want to see if I'll check the valve clearance on it too. But let me address this throttle situation. Get that out of the way. What size is that in there? Probably like 3/8. It's got this. You can get over here. You have to go down and look. It's got this thing here. This cable stop, I guess you can call it. couple of Phillips. Double clamped here. This thing's on wheels. Need to throw a 2x4 in front of it. Kind of block of wood. Nope. I don't got anything small enough to throw under there. Be careful when I push on it. It'll be rolling away. Now I'm not gonna, when we get done, I'm not gonna be able to saw anything with this because I don't have any wood. But he makes all kinds of lumber with this thing. All right, where's this? Zip tied under here. I guess I could just pull it through that zip tie. I guess I should pull it the other way. So, I'll probably just put a new wire in it. I don't know, this wire seems to be good. It's a little kinked up. In case I have to, I can put a new inner wire in it, which we sell in our online store. We sell this inner wire and we sell this cable stuff. So, in case you need to make a cable, you can get all that stuff in our online store. Might be able to use this one over again. It probably just needs a good lubricating and then stick it back in. Yeah. See, it's got some white powder on it. It's usually a sign of moisture. Let me take a Scotch-Brite. Kind of shine it up a little. There we go. And then I'll take some of our gel lube, which we also sell in our online store. And I'll spray this inside that cable housing. Where's that blower at? First I want to blow through this. Blow through this cable. Stick one end in the garbage can so I don't make a mess. Stick that little straw up to it and all right, we got plenty of lube. Plenty of lube through there now. Now I know this gel lube doesn't like cold weather and it's kind of cold in the shop. I don't know what kind of propellant they use in there. This is good stuff. I've had to energize them cans a few times. And if you don't know how to do that, it's real simple. I could show you, because this one can ain't spraying too good. So I just take my air blower, pull the cap off, push down on it and give it a little shot. Another thing I've done is drilled a hole in there and poured it into a different container. There we go. Turned it upside down. She's spraying now. There's your dinner. There's your dinner. Now my hands are all sticky. It's an old trick. Hitting it with the air. All right. We feed this back through that zip tie. Here she comes. She's rolling at me. And this Z on here, this Z bend's kind of long. I want to put the proper Z bend in there. And again, here's another tool that we sell in our online store, a Z bender. If you don't have one of these, you might want to get it. I'll cut that end off. Stick it in the hole. Bend it 90 degrees. Give it a spin until it lands in that notch. Bend it up. And that is the Z bender. I put the Z bend in there. Z bend, Z bend. Get the cable in there. All right. So how much throttle do we want? Let me pull this casing back a little bit here. Pull it back about that far so our cable doesn't run into our outer conduit. Now I know it showed that where it was clamped there, but I'm clamping it back. So I got the jed tightened down. And you're thinking, jed? That's not called a jed, Taryl. You just tighten that down and you call it a jed. Yeah, it's a jed clamp it. Jed clamp it, get it? I just tighten down the jed. All right, so let me bring the cable around. I can shove it back in that hole there. We can just let a little bit hang out the end. We get these jeds on there. Let me tighten down these jeds. These jed clampets. Got a little bit of that through there. Where's that 3/8? Here they are. So there's one of these bolts on the top and on the bottom. The one on the bottom's got the return spring on there for the lever. There we go. The one on the bottom is tight. Yep. Uh-oh. Money's here. All right, let me go see what kind of money I can make. All right, I'm going to blow this out real good before I start it, and I want to see what kind of throttle we're getting now. I'm going to close the choke, so try to keep a lot of that stuff from getting in the carburetor. So I blow it out. I need to clean that out real good. We get a rag. All right, let's start it. Let's fire it up, fire it up, fire. Shut up! Oh yeah, he was complaining it wasn't revving up far enough, and that's because of this cable. Because it's getting plenty of RPMs now. So he'll be happy about that. I can probably bend this back now, because he had bent it out. See, just little maintenance issues. All right, so let's, what should we do next? Let me pull one of the valve covers off, and we'll check the, check what kind of valve clearance we got. Because that'll make it crank over easier. This is the easier of the two. Now this is what I don't like about this Vanguard engine. They have two different types of hardware that holds the valve cover on. They got one with studs that you use nuts and it's got a seal on there. Or they've got this type where you've got bolts, 6mm with a 10mm head, and they use like a little fiber washer on there. And this is what happens when you take them on and off. That fiber washer always breaks. So what I like to do, because when you go to look that up on the parts breakdown, it's going to show you this fiber washer for the one with the bolt. The one with the studs, here's the part number in case you're interested, for the fiber one. It's almost like a bowl nut. But what I do is I get the one that's got the metal with the rubber on it, because it makes a better seal and you could use it over. And I'll use these on the bolts instead of the studs. Well, I'll use it on the studs too, but if I can use them over, I will. And there's the part number for the one with the rubber on it and the metal. Because it's still a 6mm stud with a 10mm headed nut, 6mm thread. You have to pry that off. And another thing, I used to buy the, had to give it a little help with the screwdriver. And we got our pulse line there. I was buying the Stens and rotary valve cover gaskets, and I noticed that they weren't too good. They would suck in, kind of like this one did. So it kind of pulled itself in. They wouldn't last very long, the aftermarket ones. So then I went back to buying the actual brakes and scrap them ones. So this has also got a rope start on it, which is nice, so I can pull this thing over by hand. I got to change the plugs, so I might as well just pull the plugs out. It'll make it easier to pull over. Okay, I rolled the engine over, and I can tell, because I've been doing this a long time. I got this valve open, and I can tell there's clearance on there. It's about 4 thousandths is what it's supposed to have. And there's no excessive clearance in there. Because if you got a lot of clearance, you know, it's not going to bump the compression release, the compression release on the camshaft. And it's going to make it crank hard, or you're going to get like a hard spot. That's what I was looking for when I was cranking it earlier. But that may have to do with this cap on the back of that starter. Because it's got a new battery and it's only about a year old. But again, that battery might be low, because I don't know how often he's using this thing. But I checked both sides, and the valve clearance is good. It's still tight, so I wanted to make sure it wasn't sloppy. So I'll clean all this out of here, and I'll put new valve cover gaskets on. And here's the OEM part number for the Vanguard gasket. All right, so let me go ahead and put the new gaskets on. This one is in good shape, but like I said, this one got sucked in a little bit. I'll put those new sealing washers on. I'll put a set of plugs in it. I'll turn that fuel filter, because I think they got it on backwards. Or maybe not. No, I think it's on the right way. But I'll put a new fuel filter on it. And get a new air filter, and then I'll get it hot. And I'll change the oil. You don't have to watch me change the oil, because it's changing oil. Another thing I like to do whenever I'm doing servicing on engines, when I'm changing the plugs, is I like to put a little bit of never sleaze on the threads. And again, this is another product that we sell in our online store. This is the non-metallic, and we have the metallic. So we have two types. One's good for like indoor stuff, and the metallic, the coppery kind of stuff, is better for stuff that's going to sit outside. So I always like to put a little never seize on the threads. It kind of helps, especially because you got steel going into aluminium, and you know how steel and aluminium don't like each other. That's why you get a lot of stuff that gets seized in there. And then the bolts break off. And then here you're drilling and tapping them out, and it's like, if it would have had a little bit of never sleaze on there, I'd be taking that bolt right out. All right, here's another little tidbit for you grass rats out there if you're doing these Vanguards. There's a considerable gap between the top of that rocker stud and the valve cover. It's about 1/4 of an inch. I don't know if you could see it, but there's a gap in there. So when you go to put these on, you cannot tighten them down too tight, because you will break this valve cover. Ask me how I know. Because I tightened one down one time and broke the valve cover. So you got to make sure it's tight, but not real tight. And then I've got those sealing washers on there, those better ones that have the rubber gasket on it. Because if you want to take this off, you can use that over again. Where with those fiber washers, if they tear, and you go to put it back on and you don't have one, you know, you're going to have to make something or put an O-ring on there. So it's better to just get rid of those stupid fiber washers and put those sealing ones on there. All right, got the plugs in. The valves are good. Got the new air filter installed. And a lot of times these clamps here don't want to clamp down tight. If that happens, all you have to do, where's my pliers at? Here they are. See how this has got see how it's kind of curved? Well, what happens is it loses some of that curve, and then it won't clamp down so tight. So all you got to do is take a pair of pliers and squeeze that thing. Bend it some, and then it'll clamp down tighter. Because this one was loose, so that's what I did. Got the fuel filter on, plugs in, valve covers are back on. I should have did this first. I'm bad at this. I do this a lot. Should always check the oil first. But me, I always check the oil last. I don't know why I do that. Sometimes I check it. We had one in here the other day. Luckily, we checked it because somebody changed the oil on it. but they didn't put the oil back in. And luckily it didn't run and we checked it. So this is low, considerably low. It's about right there. Let's see if I can get it to read better. Yeah, it's about down there. So it's in the add range. Pressurized lube system, so it's got an oil pump. It'll circulate what oil's in there. So I'm going to add some more oil to it. I'm going to get it hot, then I'll change the oil. Next we have to do this starter. So I'm going to pull this back off as I knock everything on the ground. Oh, there went my battery. It's tough. Slide this back. And what did I do with that? Oh, it's over there. I got tools everywhere. Let's do the starter now. Let's fix that end cap. And then this thing will be done. I can call him and he can start making some lumber. It sounded pretty good. I know that belt's a little loose, but I don't think it's slipping. I could try tightening that. Let me get a ratchet wrench. Because I know what you're going to say. You were going to tighten that and you didn't tighten that, Taryl. I want to know if you're going to tighten that. Where's my light? What did I do with that little flashlight I just had? There it is. No, it's out of threads. Well, let's loosen it up. See what it does. That's 9/16. It might be frozen. Alright. Put some gel lube on there. Try taking this off. Take this bracket off. I can take a look at this. Okay, so this is an adjustment. I just needed to loosen this up so I could get it to go up and down, but you can see how it works. It's got a little bit more travel to go. That's why they stacked these washers on there, so they could get some more adjustment out of it. So I'll probably just do the same thing, because I don't have a belt for this. So let me put it back together and we'll loosen that up, and I'll put a little more tension on that belt. Tension, tension. Put some more tension. Should have got this out in the first place. All right, let me loosen that up. All right, I added a couple of thick washers on there, and that gave it a little bit more adjustment. So now I got the belt tight. I'll get a belt looked up. But yeah, that's how this works. This blade goes around that belt. I see how that works now. This pulley has got like a belt on it already. It's like part of the wheel. You can see it's like loose. And then this works off of that belt. That's what spins the blade. I see how it works. Alright, so I already removed the 2 screws for the starter. And I'm probably going to have to loosen up that, because I need to get this cap off, and here's that thing. So I need to loosen up that solenoid again. So let me get the 10 millimeter socket I had. I got that loose. Pull this off. There's that little strap I was talking about earlier. And yeah, you can see this is all busted, this stud. Another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to disconnect that battery, because I don't like working in here with this starter with this blade right there in case it starts up. It shouldn't move because it's at idle, but just for safety, I'm going to disconnect this battery. Because that is a mean looking blade on that thing. That saw your arms right off in a second. Bend that out of the way so it doesn't touch. Alright. So we're replacing this anyway. So let me just pull this cap off, which has got the brushes on it. And I should have, yeah, see, that's all broke. I should have either a good used one just use this to hold it for now. I might have a good used one. I got a bunch of junk starters. I probably got a new cap, but I'll try to save them a few bucks. And I'll go look for a cap, and then I'll show you how to install that. How you can hold the brushes back. So I can put that cap back on. And I will also take the air blower and blow all that crap out of there. Alright, I'll be right back. So I got a cabinet that's full of starters, all different starters, and I write on them when I stick them in there, so I know which ones are good and which ones are for parts. Now this is for an opposed twin, but it's basically, that's what's nice about brakes and scrap them. A lot of their parts will interchange, and that's pretty genius on their part. I don't know about now, but back in the day, everything was interchangeable. You know, you can interchange their alternators on just about every one of their mowers. They do have, you know, some little differences in the starters with the number of teeth in that, but it's got the same end cap. That's on this one. It's just got a different mounting. So I'm going to take it apart as soon as I put the right socket back in. There we go. And hopefully this one's good, because it did say for parts. I may be going out there to get another one. Oh yeah, this one's good. The rest of the starter's no good. You can see it's all burned up. But this looks good. The brushes all look good. We'll find out when I put it all together. Just some pieces of melted, that's probably the insulation off of the wires in there. Alright, so when you buy one of these end caps from Brakes and Scrap 'em, it comes with these. These little clips are in the package. Now you can make these out of pieces of wire. So I save these and use them as a tool. So you have to get two of the brushes pushed back. And then you insert this into here, and then that holds the brushes back for you. See? Like I said, you can make these out of pieces of wire. You can make individual ones, or so when you buy one of these from Brakes and Scrap 'em and you take it out of the box, this is how it looks. It's got these on there already. So now I just stick it on there, and when you go to shove it on, you just pull these out. And there's your dinner. Now I can put the end cap back on. That goes on the bearing. But again, I'm going to put a little bit of gel lube on there. We want a little bit of lubrication on that. It's an oil light bushing. It does have oil impregnated, but hey, a little extra lubricant isn't going to hurt. I got to put that strap back in. And we got to get it to start. You got to find the other end right here. All right, let me get everything tightened up. Put the cable back on the starter. Get that lined up. Of course, I'm going to want to kind of push the cable back. I don't want it out here in that area where the blade is. But I'm sure that's how it got broke. Piece of wood got in there. Alright. The starter seems like it's loose. Where's that light I had? Everything's got to ground through that. Well, I bet you the bolts are loose. Or is that the bracket? I'm just pulling on. Yeah, it's just a bracket. It's not loose. It's this. I'm pulling on that. I'm going to check them bolts though anyway. See if they're tight. Let me hook this up real quick. Just to make sure it's going to crank over. And if it does, I'll disconnect the battery again and then I'll try to check those bolts for the starter, make sure they're not loose. All I got to do is take this strap off, this little cover, and I should be able to get at them. We ready? Starter's working. And she fired up. All right, let me check those bolts and then that'll be it. I want to take this off though, just for safety. That blade scares me. Safety first. You're just big baby, Taryl. I thought Danger was your middle name. All right, grass rats, I got it all back together. I'm getting it hot to change the oil in it right now. I just wanted to go over a couple other things. I fixed this latch in the front, which was busted. And then I added that little quick clip. And another thing, he didn't know which way the choke went. So we've got one of those brother label makers. So I made a little label. And I also pointed an arrow on there, but that'll wear off after a while. Because he was a little confused at which way the choke went. So there it is, all back together, ready to start sawing some lumber. Now, like a lot of outdoor power equipment, you know, on a lawnmower and that, our enemy is grass. On this sawmill, the enemy is sawdust. So I took my blower and I went around and blew all the cooling fins. And all that sawdust came out of there. That's on the ground. So I went through and blew all that off. And this has got an oil cooler on it, which is over here. And this oil cooler was all packed up full of sawdust. So I blew all that out for him because he uses this a lot. He makes a lot of lumber. This is owned by my buddy that built my addition. He's a very talented man. He does concrete, builds houses, builds those sheds. He's a distributor for that shed metal. And he likes to make a lot of his own custom lumber. So he uses this sawmill quite a bit. So got it all tuned up and ready for him to go back. Well, there you have it, grass rats. Worked on the sawmill. Wish we had something to saw, but we don't. So if you like this video, hit the like button. If you're not a subscriber, become a subscriber. Hit the notification buttons and all that stuff, all those other buttons, so you know about the videos. Check out our web store. You can get all that stuff that we were talking about that I was using, the the gel lube and the Z-bender and the inner and outer wire for the throttle, and just go check it out. There's all kinds of stuff. This beautiful work shirt. This is a regular, real work shirt. You don't get the pens though, but you get the shirt. And you know where this shirt would look good? On you, grass rats. Hey, yeah. Follow me. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok with your sawmills. It's going to come and get me. Look at that thing. Isn't that a mean looking blade? I think it's awesome wood. We should have used this in a Halloween video. This thing's on wheels. We could put some eyeballs on here and we could have it attacking us. I get the paint pen and put some eyeballs on there. And as always, there's your dinner. Woo! Woo! Working on a sawmill. Didn't need too much. Just a little bit. Yeah, that wasn't too bad.